How you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development. This is my 331st weekly update. This is not one of those amazing, awesome weeks like last week was. Last week was definitely those weeks we all hope for all the time, where everything just goes in the right direction, everything goes great. This was one of those tough weeks where everything felt pretty rough, honestly, and I had to make a few adjustments as the days went along. And that's okay. That's why I always preach consistency. I'm not going to talk about it again, but I'll just talk about what this week entailed. So, you may recall I tested out the safety squat bar for the first time in like a year and a half, probably, last week, and I was just awful with it. And I am on a bit of a mission to become less awful with that particular implement because it mimics a front squat pretty good. And it's a variant, and because I'm competing in strongman, I don't have a direct squat competition coming up. There's no real reason for me to consider a particular squat variant as my competition squat. Most strongman squats are a little bit higher anyway, but the weight's usually higher. You know, something in the 200-pound guys will probably, usually they'll do something in the 400s. Excuse me, for reps. Just at parallel, usually it's a little bit above parallel. So, you know, given that I always just do everything ass to grass, or as low as possible, I'm usually pretty well prepared for those, and if it comes up and when it comes up in a comp, I just, you know, much like powerlifting, do a lot of variations further out, and then as we get closer to the comp, do things closer to the actual implements as possible. So worked with the safety squat bar, did sets of 7 with 170. Again, still got to work on that technique a little bit. It was, I'm still figuring it out just a little bit. I know I'm capable of a little bit more weight than that, so I you know, it's one of those things. I'm working on it. I assume next week will go better. We'll see. Maybe it won't sort of kill me as much. And then did deficit deadlifts, and wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't feeling strong. Worked up to 365 for a set of like 5, and on a stiff bar, and it was just like, man, this feels rough. And did a little bit of accessory work, some sandbag picks and runs, and then some low rows and face pulls, that sort of thing. And then Tuesday I thought I'd feel better, didn't. I actually felt a little bit worse than I did Monday in terms of, like, I just didn't feel strong, you know what I mean? Still managed a 175 jerk, and did 2 sets of 9 with just 165. I was hoping to do 175 or even 170 for that set, but I had 175 on the bar, and I did it for like 3, and I was like, this is not going to happen. So I just dropped it down, and I said, you know what, let's just drop down and play it smart. But I did some pretty good accessory stuff. I've been doing the football bar, or Swiss bar, some people call it, I think, to help mimic the stone press a little bit, since the actual stone that I have is so much larger than the stone I'll be pressing. The football bar has the adjustable grips on it. I should say 3 different sizes, so I just picked the middle one, which is the closest to the stone, and it's about the length of the stone too, or maybe I should say width of the stone. And so I was able to practice my like push pressing with that. Actually did it with overcomp weight at 160, and that's after training everything else, so I'm tired. And managed to have a pretty good go at that. Remembered to put on my soft belt after I had pinched myself really bad. Oh, that's from today. That one wasn't too bad, but to the point where I actually drew blood on one of the pinches. It sucked. I did put the soft belt on after that. I've also been putting on some assistive gear this last week, and I will be moving forward to getting used to moving and training in my compression shorts, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, that sort of thing. Still not a fan of wrist wraps. I think wrist wraps are really good for like single rep work, but for me personally, when you get into like multiple reps with something, you know, it just, the dexterity in the hands is affected so much, it kind of throws me off a little bit. I know if I just train with it more, I'll get better at it, but honestly, the only pressing I'll be doing at this comp is a stone press, and I don't really need them for a stone press. I mean, my hands are like this anyway, so it's the extra support doesn't seem to help. So I'm just gonna skip those this go around, but I'll probably start training with them in the future. Had Wednesday off. Thursday I thought I'd feel better. Once again, it was just about as good as Tuesday. It's kind of rough. Did some high bar squats, worked up to 275 for sets of 3, a bunch of sets of 3. But they were, in my defense, probably the most perfect high bar squats with a respectable weight I have ever done. Everything stayed super tight. Depth was awesome. Nothing hurt. Everything felt really good and strong throughout the entire movement on every set. And then I went to go do deadlifts, and wow, I was not having it. 315 felt heavy. I put 405 on the bar. I broke it from the ground like twice, and I was like, okay, I can take a hint. Just go home. I was like, well, maybe I should do some accessories, and I was like, no, there's no point doing more. You're gonna have to recover from. Just take the squats. Your quads feel pretty pumped. They still do today a little bit actually. And so I just called it there. We're going to have days like that. I don't like it, but rather than risk an injury, especially this close to comp, just take it a little easier, dude. And so I did. And then today went okay. Did sets of 5 on bench, and I wanted to do like 265, 275, especially since I just did 280 for sets of 3 last week. But again, this has been one of those weeks, and given that the bench has slight more risk with some shoulder damage, got 245 on the bar, and I was like, man, this feels heavy. And so I just stayed there and did sets of 5 with 245, and then supersetted that with some pull-ups with some 25-pound around my waist. Did a little bit of dumbbell overhead work, and did 10 minutes on the minute with the stone. Did really good this week, actually, a lot better than the week I tried to do that before, where I got like 4 or 5 total reps in 10 minutes. Ended up missing way more reps than I actually got. This go around, the first 6 were just like nothing. And I was like, cool. Rep 7, got a little unbalanced, had to put it down, and said, all right. I ended up getting 8 total reps in the 10 minutes, which is perfectly acceptable for right now. My goal is to be able to get 10 in a row every minute without having to stop. And again, the stone I'm using is a lot more, in my opinion, challenging than what I'll be using at the actual comp. There's really no way to push press that big thing just because it's so large. I'm going to try to work on it a little bit more because I figure if I get to the point where I can lay back press it for a few without dying, then I should have enough stability and strength to go for a push press with it. But we'll see. I'll probably just continue practicing my push press on the football bar variant, which again is much closer to the actual stone. Then I did some accessory stuff for my shoulders, a little bit of work on the triceps there. That's about it. Like I said, this is one of those weeks we don't like, where one of the days is just a really rough day. It's just bad, and there's no two ways about it. But had an awesome week last week, had a bit of a rough week this week. I'm already feeling better and stronger. My muscles are sort of feeling better already, so I'm looking forward to next week being a lot better with it. And well, it needs to be. It's going to be overhead's going to be a heavy day next week, so it better be better, right? It'd be really cool if I could do like 200 for 3 overhead, push pressing them. That'd be awesome. We'll see. We'll see. I might get that in my head that that's what I'm doing. Because that 175 didn't feel like anything last week. And with the ebb and flow, I should be primed for a pretty good overhead press sesh next week. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to doing better on the safety bar squats next week as well. Doing a little more work with the stones, swinging over to Iron Life and playing with the actual implement a little bit more. More stone work, always more work to do, but that's okay. I like the extra work. I like getting stronger. So, that's about it for this week. Don't don't quit just because you have a bad week. And if you do, then what's your excuse?